Hello and welcome back to another week at Drone DJ. As promised, we were following up on the developing story of the US drone ban, so we'll bring you some updates on that. We also have the first leak on Mavic 4, and then we have a new Instago 3S. So let's kick off with the developing story on the US drone ban. Let me just share our Drone DJ official updates as well.
Yeah, so I've been following along with the proceedings. I always forget the site. I guess it's called it's like the House Clerk site. It's kind of awesome. I'm kind of nerding out on it a little bit, but I've been watching. I watched Wednesdays. I watched some of yesterday, and man, is it boring as hell. But um, pretty much coming out of committee. If you don't know, the bill comes out of committee and then goes to the full House for a vote. And this is pretty much where we're at. They're debating it, they're reading it, they're adding amendments. In committee, only committee members can add amendments and changes to the bill. Once it goes to the full House, then anyone can do that. So pretty much what's happening is politics be politics, and they're tacking on a bunch of things that might not necessarily be needed for a defense funding bill. And because it's gonna probably pass no matter what, so they're trying to add as much stuff as possible. And every single change that comes up, any amendment that someone wants to add to it, has to be voted on by the full House. So you can only do so many votes a day because they don't start till noon for legislative business. So in the morning they're doing all the work. And at noon they start their in the chamber voting on stuff, and they're done by 5. So you can only do like 4 or 5 like amendment votes because you have to then read it, then you have to debate it, then you have to do some like 3 votes that mean literally nothing, and then you actually do the actual vote. It's
So
really
in
annoying.
short, we don't have an answer. Although
No.
the bill is going through the Senate right now, but we
Yes.
don't really have an answer.
No, yeah, it was supposedly being heard by committees, being talked about in the Senate for committees. So it's going to have to go through that same process there. Depending on how much they want to change or add to it, depends on whether or not how fast that goes. But again, it's attached to the much larger National Defense Authorization Act, rather than it being just by itself. So no one's voting on. So right now it's HR 2864, County CCP Drone Act, but no one's voting on this by itself. They're voting on the larger National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2025. And that has to go through like a bunch of committees because it touches a bunch of different parts of the government. And so I think on Wednesday they started on. I don't know if they even talked about the Drone Act on Wednesday. I think it was just starting on like the personnel part of the bill, the I think it was like the Navy part of the bill. Like it was just started that process. So it might be a few weeks beforehand, before we
Right.
get
Um,
anything.
and let's touch base on a couple of other items. One is what happens to the drone you already own, because we talked about could it be grandfathered? So should the bill go through, can your previous DJI drones or Autal drones be grandfathered? But looking at the current proposal is that, first of all, this is related to FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. Which means the future ones is going to prevent any future DJI drones to be added to the list. And then it could also revoke existing authorizations. So absolutely it's going to prevent any future ones should the bill pass. But there's also a potential, right? It's not a guarantee, but there's also a potential to revoke existing drones to a degree. So it can affect, all your current DJI drones as well. On the other note, as Kirk brought up earlier, this is through the FCC. This is through the Federal Communications Commission. We've been talking about drones, and the bill is called the Countering CCP Drones Act. But what about the other DJI products that has FCC products?
Yeah, like your mics, right? Like the DJI had to get permission from the FCC for the mic to talk with the controller because it uses whatever gigahertz wavelength to do that communication. So you have to have permission from the FCC to release a product that does that. So I would talk because I'm close with a few YouTubers who use the Osmo Pockets. who use the DJI mics, if you or use the wireless transmission systems from DJI, all of that could be affected. So anything new, of course, probably want to come out. But then, yeah, like the wording, like, of course, there's no one that there's no one that we can ask, like, really, like, how the word, like, okay, what does this mean? Because you can't really reach out to a congressman who wrote it because they don't care.
Or do they even know?
Yeah, like do you reach out you can reach out the FCC, but like they don't know because they're not going to comment on anything that's not passed yet, and then say that they no federal agency is going to comment on a bill that hasn't been passed yet. So it's very difficult to kind of get understanding of what the text means. Is it retroactive? Is it future? So there's in my opinion, there's two possibilities for what happens for like stuff like this. They straight up become paperweights. The drones would straight up become paperweights. Like if they get retroactively banned, like you can't use them. Like they're done. These
what about the other DJI products?
In my opinion, like these could possibly do it. Like I don't know, how do you control this without this? Like, is there something that has to go in between the two to make them work? Like we don't know. Second is they're just local, so this becomes useless because you can't use anything to control it. And so now you just have this at whatever setting you had it set before for sensitivity. And it's just you just hit record and that's it. There's nothing else you can do about it, which pretty much makes this a terrible product. And you'd be replacing it with like a Rode Go or what's the other? There's another brand that makes something very similar to this. I can't remember what it's called, but the pockets might just work fine as a camera, without a mic or without a wireless mic. Also, the question I was bringing up, like, well, what if you don't update your drone? Is there going to be an update you have to update it to that removes it? There are ways for companies to do an update to a product that doesn't get your consent. Like you don't have to agree to update; it just force updates it. So that could be a possibility. Yeah, so there's a lot.
We still don't know.
It's like there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that, like, if you use a DJI product right now, you have to be thinking, what is the worst possibility, and then make a plan for what happens if that happens. So start saving up some money maybe to buy the Wireless Go Pros or the Wireless Go, Rode. The Rode Wireless Max packs. Maybe try to find, you have to find another a camera to walk around with, like someone to replace the Osmo Pocket, which I don't think there actually is one.
Well, but again, all of this is hanging in the air.
Yeah,
we don't know.
It's
yet,
just
right.
It's you probably have a few weeks to probably just make a plan. It's never hurt to have a plan. And if it doesn't work out, and all this stuff works great, then you don't need a plan.
Along that line, if you're considering getting a new drone, I wonder how is this gonna change the next DJI release, especially the sales in the States. We did receive the first Mavic 4 leak. Let's face it, Mini 4 Pro came out the end of last year, right? So or summer of last year. So we know we're on the 4th generation. We know that we're gonna have normally you get the Mini and then you get the Mavic update and then you get the Air update. So we know it's going to be Mavic 4 this year, and we're seeing just the first leak right now. And let's see what information it's saying on the first one.
Yeah, not a lot. So Jasper Ellens tweeted out that he, what he believes with the Mavic 4. And it definitely doesn't look like a Air, but definitely doesn't look like a Mavic 3. So it definitely checks out to be a new drone out there in China. And this is kind of how we see the first leaks. Beta testers leave it out, and someone just decides to take a photo of it. I can't tell whether or not if you zoom in on the image, like whether or not it is 3 or 2 cameras on the payload. It kind of looks like 3, but it also could just be 2. But they are definitely much larger than what the Mavic 3 Pro has. So, and it's definitely the body design's more like
a size reference with a water bottle there.
Yeah, you got to use that Fiji. I know Fiji. I drink Fiji. It definitely is larger than an Air 3. Definitely looking at more of a Mavic size camera with that. So I don't know. Yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
My ask with the Mavic 4 was waterproof. What else can they put on Mavic 4? Right, that's different. That's making it a substantial jump from Mavic 3.
True. That would make it pretty nice. I think
Especially if you look at the Dock 2 with the Matrix 3DT in there, right? That's a comparable size. I mean, it's a little larger than Mavic 3, but that's a comparable size to the Mavic class, and that one is waterproof.
I would love better slow motion video. You know, like 120 frames per second is good, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like if you like maybe like 180 to 20, like like a little bit more slow motion would be awesome. I know that definitely heats up things really badly, but that'd be really awesome. It sounds like Ellen's is two things he alluded to was that it would have a 1-inch sensor because of how large the payload is. I don't on a Mavic. A 1-inch sensor on the main camera would be a downgrade. So they have to keep. I mean, I'm sure they're keeping with the Hasselblad, branding with the main camera is going to be a Micro Four Thirds Hasselblad again.
Right.
Maybe they do a larger one because it was it. I guess this is the Mavic 3 was the first with the Micro Four Thirds, right? So they could up the size of that. I don't know what you would up the size to it too. Maybe it's just a larger Micro Four Thirds camera. It's less sensor, but who knows? And then maybe the secondary cameras, or if there's one or two of them, those are 1 inches. So that would be nice. I still want that 3X. I hope they don't get rid of the 3X. The 7X is fine.
You need the 3X for sure. I don't use the 7X.
The 3X is more US. The 3X is very, very useful. The 7X is useful for like, there's nothing, I don't use that ever for video work. I always look at it and be like, okay, what are they actually doing? So let me hit 7X to actually see what the people are doing in the shot. And then I go back to 3X because that's the actual proper focal length for the shot. But I just want to see and make sure like no one's in the shot that shouldn't be in the shot, and then I zoom out before I start anything. So that's like the only reason
this
why.
This is only the first leak on the Mavic 4. We don't have much besides size reference and some speculations.
If you've been around for DJI leaks before, this is it. This is what happens on the first leak. You get an image and you have no information to go off of, and you just this is what it is. So you gotta let us know what you want on the Mavic 4. And his leak, his long shot guess is August 1st release.
Yeah.
So
and what's interesting is I'm just looking at timeline. Mavic 3 Pro was released last year in May. Oh, sorry. Yeah. That's the 3 Pro Cine, right? And then before that, the if we trust this,
it was about a year and a half later than that because it was when I first started.
The actual Mavic 3 was the end of 2021, November.
Yep.
And then Mavic 3 Classic came out the end of 2022, and then we had the actual Mavic 3 Pro series. Yeah, so I guess we shall see.
It's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah. Last update we have for this week is the Insta360 Go 3S. How do you like it?
I do enjoy it. So I haven't had a chance to do a full review on it yet, but I did take it out last weekend to do kind of like a test vlog, just kind of going around. I had to take some whiskey out to a guy, and I decided that I was to hit up a bunch of whiskey stores and pretend to be a whiskey YouTuber and vlog it just for testing purposes. And then my dad wore it for a game when he umpired. So before, I literally just bought the Hero 11 Black, right? So I've been kind of comparing it to that. They both have, the Insta360 has the flip up screen too, and so then the Hero Black has the front facing camera, and so there's definitely trade offs between the two. Like this can now do 4K, it can do 4K 30. I think this can do more than 4K. If I remember correctly, I think it could do I don't know, but they're basically both 4K cameras at this point. And the thing I don't like about this one the most
is the Insta.
What?
How heavy is the Insta?
How heavy?
Yeah,
it's about the same as.
I just wonder if
I don't know. I don't have the actual scale for you to do it, but I can find that. But
I wonder if I can mount it on like a Mavic 3 or Air 3.
So that's the big thing about these, is that these are very popular for FPV drones or just drones in general to attach onto as a secondary camera.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a better camera than what's on your drone. If you're talking about Mavic, a Mini 3 or anything like that, I think they're pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
but definitely it could be better than a lot of the cameras on, like you put on an FPV drone. Like it's a very simple camera to put on
The camera
FPV.
itself is only 39 grams.
Oh yeah, it's this this is light. So like if you're talking about the whole package as a whole, like it's about the same as a GoPro, but like take out just the camera package and it's super light. You could throw it onto your pendant here and do your what Insta360 everyone wants everyone to do is put on your chest to do POV shots. It's not necessarily like this is not your A cam. This is your B cam. Yeah, like 100%. Yeah, for if you're actually doing vlogs, like I would never suggest anyone use this because I actually use this as like an actual vlogging camera. Like you put it in, you flip up the screen, you put out, you talk to it, like it's fine. Like the issue I have with it mostly is that it is recording. I didn't know it was recording the entire time. The camera feed sometimes is great, like super clear, super crystal clear, but even when it's inside the package, it gets super grainy up here, like it's still being wirelessly transferred, like through the air instead of being a connection. Versus the GoPro, which is like, it's built in, so you're not gonna have that issue ever. Super crystal, like the front camera is like super crystal clear. So, but the mic's way better than I thought it was gonna be. I like the ND filters. I like they're super easy to attach, and I used one for my dad's game because it's gonna be super bright outside, so I threw one on and it worked perfectly. Even on like auto settings, it just made it much nicer. And
just thinking about if we really have the ban on DJI drones and we'll go back to your home builds, then potentially these are, because when we're doing our own drone builds, we're pretty much just getting a gimbal and just putting a GoPro on it. Right? No different than building an FPV drone. So these are potentially cameras you can mount on a home build drone.
Yeah, I've seen these plenty of times used, like even zip tied onto a home built FPV drone. And then it works out pretty great. Like it's wide, it's a very wide angle camera, so it's going to capture everything. The thing is, I would love like GoPro could do some of this stuff. Like it'd be nice to have some of this on a GoPro, because the issue I have with the Insta360 right now is that it's kind of annoying to transfer your files. Like you have to download it through the app, and then you have to like get it to your computer. Like they have a transfer puck thing that like you put an SD card in. You have to figure out how to use it. Because I think you have to plug it into the you have to like plug it into a USB port, like which I don't have like a USB power thing. I can actually use a battery, but like you have to power it with something, and it doesn't have a USB like female port. It's a male port, so you have to like plug it into like just your regular old power brick like into the wall, and then I guess you press the button and it transfers everything to the micro SD card. I don't know. It seems a little. I wish they just threw a micro SD card slot in here somewhere. That would make life so much easier instead of it all being internal storage. Or if I plug in a USB cord into a computer, I can just access it like the DJI mics. They just become drives, so you just pull the files off of it. That'd be nice, but otherwise, like it's just the trade-offs you make. Like everything else about it is amazing, and I love the ability to just use a FPV shot. But like, I just wish they had some of the
well, there's always
video creator, like more professional video creator aspects of a GoPro with like SD cards and stuff like that. Replace like removable batteries, like stuff like that.
Right. Well, those are all the updates we have for you this week. Along that note, I sent a batch of our DJI products through the repair service this week. So I'm expecting them back next week. And I believe we're going to touch base on, hey, if you crashed or had issue with your DJI drone, what's the best process to get it in for repairs? So stay tuned. We'll see you back here next week.
See you guys.